Hello guys, this is Donan's Movies, and welcome to the first part of the Artifact series. In this video, I will present you all 3 Artifact questlines in the shortest amount of time possible, while also giving you the lore behind everything for Death Knights. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. As with all the quests, you get the voice of Bolvar the Lich King calling you, and you need to talk to Duke Lenkral at Crassus's Landing. Once you take the quest, you can choose 3 different paths for all of the different specs. Each artifact has a completely different questline, even though they all have the same ending. You have 3 different weapons: Maw of the Damned for the Blood spec, Icebringer for Frost, and Apocalypse for the Unholy. So I'm going to start out with the Icebringer. As soon as you select the Icebringer, you get a portal to Icecrown. There you meet up with Darian Mograine, the leader of the Ebon Blade. You'll learn that the Ebon Blade has allied themselves with the Lich King, even though they're not chained to him as they were before. He seems to be their best ally, as the Death Knights have joined us in the fight against the Legion. After the quest, you enter the Icecrown Citadel, just below the Frozen Throne where Bolvar is. You fight a lot of spectral knights and lost souls that were killed by the Frostmourne. Once you progress and get closer to the Frozen Throne, you realize that you need to collect 4 different shards of Frostmourne that shattered all the way back in Wrath of the Lich King. There are 4 different mini-bosses that guard these shards that you need to defeat. First is Baelgun Flamebeard. You might remember him if you played Warcraft 3. He joined Arthas together with Muradin. However, when Arthas had gone mad, he took the remaining dwarves and fled. Arthas, as a Death Knight, later met him when he was going through Azjol Nerub to the Frozen Throne. This was the time when he had killed him and had taken his soul. The next 2 bosses are Halak Deathbringer or Lifebringer and Magroth the Defender. You might also remember them from Warcraft 3, as they were defending the refugees at the Lordran Palace Gardens, but have also fallen to Frostmourne. And the last boss is Gavinrad the Cruel, also known as Gavinrad the Dire. Gavinrad, as the rest of them, is from Warcraft 3, and he was the paladin that was killed by Arthas when Arthas was trying to get the remains of Kel'Thuzad. He is now trapped and is guarding the shards of Frostmourne. After you defeat all of these bosses and gather the shards, you go to the Scourge Teleporter and get right in front of Bolvar at the Frozen Throne. In the middle there is a hilt of Frostmourne, and Bolvar instructs you to take it and create the artifact weapon Icebringer. You channel the shards and the artifact is created. Now with the weapon, you are tasked to purge the final spirits within the blade. You get teleported to the scene where Arthas is forming the Dark Pact with Frostmourne and Ner'zhul, and there is an entire boss fight where you have to defeat Arthas. After his defeat, you ascend to the Frozen Throne and receive the mark from Bolvar.
Where the weak showed mercy, you did not hesitate to strike. Where the unworthy were vanquished, you have conquered. I now mark you with my sigil. Let all recognize you as the enforcer of my will.
After this, you get a portal to Acheras the Ebon Blade, which is transported as the base for the Death Knights to the Broken Isles to help us fight the Burning Legion. You talk to Darian Mograine there and you become the Death Lord, and that is pretty much how the questline ends. Alright, now let's get into the Apocalypse questline. As soon as you pick the Apocalypse weapon, you hear that this weapon has resurfaced in the hands of the Dark Riders. If you don't know much about the Dark Riders, they used to be merchants who tried to scam Medivh, and he, possessed by Sargeras, cursed them and forced them to gather artifacts for him and bring them to Karazhan. Apocalypse is one of these artifacts, and it is a vampiric sword, and you are sent to retrieve it. First, you need to take a portal to Karazhan. Once you get there, you need to fly to the Mistmantle Manor and meet up with Revel Cost. As soon as you get there, you notice that he has fought the Dark Riders as there are corpses everywhere. You learn that Revel is a priest of the light and also a seeker of lost artifacts, and you need to convince him to help you. Then, after that, you get a quest to go to Aridan's camp, with Aridan being the leader of the Dark Riders. Along the way, you get ambushed by Dark Riders, while Revel gives you some backstory on them. Eventually, you run into the camp. After searching it, you realize that this is actually the camp set up by the merchants, filled with forgeries that they plan to sell to Medivh. You get attacked by some spirits, and then Revel tells you to speak to the dead at the sodden graves to get clues on the artifact. You go next to Karazhan and you raise a bunch of random undead from the shallow graves until you eventually find Late Shaol. Once he's defeated, he tells you to go to the catacombs below Karazhan and lift the curse. You meet up with Revel once again, and you enter the sewer in order to get to the catacombs. On the way, you get attacked by a bunch of skeletons until you run into Dark Riders and they also attack you. Eventually, you run into Aridan himself, but he runs away and you have to find this construct called Conservator. After defeating him, you see the relic and try to grab it, but Aridan shows up and escapes. You chase him while fighting skeletons on the way, and after a few minutes you finally run into him and engage in a fight. After he is defeated, Late Shaol, you met before, comes out of the blade and you learn that he is the father of Aridan. The curse is lifted and you manage to acquire the Apocalypse artifact. After that, Revel shows up and you get a portal to the Frozen Throne. You get the mark and pretty much the same thing happens as with all the questlines. Alright, and lastly, let's get into the Maw of the Damned. After you pick the Maw of the Damned, you get a quest to fly to the Broken Shore. You learn that a group of Ebonblade Death Knights were sent already to dispatch Gorelix, who is a Morg who wields this massive axe, but these Death Knights have gone missing. As soon as you arrive, you see Death Knights and the portal that leads to Niskera, which is a Legion world. After you enter the portal, you free a Death Knight known as Baron Sliver from a jailer demon, and he then leads you towards the axe. On the way, you have to defend him while he raises a barrier, and you also fight a bunch of demons on the way. As you progress, you find out that some of the previous Death Knights are actually alive, and you get a quest to free them. First, you run into Minerva Raven Sorrow, who is inside this prison. You need to kill a demon called Inquisitor Zelenor in order to get the keystone and free her. After freeing her, you get a quest to get the axe and also free the final Death Knight known as Margrave Dakar, who is held inside the Legion Citadel. Upon entering, you find him tied up in the middle of this circle, and once you approach him, Gorelix the demon shows up and just straight out murders Morgrave. You enter into a boss battle with the demon, and once you defeat him, you see the Maw of the Damned. You take the axe and then you're teleported to the Lich King, who then gives you the mark, and pretty much the same thing happens as with all the questlines. Alright, that is all I have for this video. Now do leave your thoughts on what you think about this series, and also don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel already, as it really helps out and keeps all the videos going. And thanks a lot for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and see you next time.